Hey, RetconRaider here, and welcome back to the beta for Warhammer 40k Rogue Trader. As today we stand on the cusp of yet another blind firefight. Though I imagine these guys will fare just as well as the last group did against us. That said, as if things weren't already tilted enough in our favor, let's run through these level ups. First things first, I looked at all of our options for talents, and Rhett is going straight for point blank, which will help offset the biggest weakness he has with his current weapon set, that being low armor penetration. Beyond that, skills pretty predictable. We're just going for awareness again. We'll keep cranking it up until we max it out. Though I will note, again, we're seeing some pretty inconsistent results with the soft cap on skill progression. We're up to 4 upgrades on awareness now, and as you'll see, that's not the only inconsistency that we've got with skill progression here. Abelard, for example, only has access to athletics through his fighter doctrine, but he's also up to 4 upgrades now, counting the one we're about to give him. So he is also kind of blown right past that normal cap. So I'm just really not sure what the intention is here. As for his talent, we're going pretty basic this time around, and we are grabbing Combat Master, which is very basic. That one just removes the malice for being outnumbered in melee. Pretty much a must, given that I keep charging him right into the midst of the thickest packs of enemies. After that, we've got Adira, and once again, we're pretty much ignoring her adept stuff. And dropping down to her divination tree to grab Fatebringer. It's yet another armor pen boost. I mean, might be overkill at this point, but I figured it couldn't hurt. For her skill, we will continue cranking Warp Lore, which, again, continues to violate the loosely applied rules of skill caps. But who's counting? And Argenta. Much like Rhett, she gets a talent and a skill. And much like last time, we are going to continue kind of leaning her in her own direction. In this case, with Grenadier, which I believe I mentioned an episode or 2 ago. That essentially gives her 1 grenade action for free per combat. And her skill, of course, will be Imperial Lore. Which brings us to Cassia. And in her case, we are now going to finally start cranking more of her Navigator talents. Starting with one that really caught my eye. Eye of Oblivion. That one seems to debuff every enemy in her line of sight, which sounds way too good. At a glance, it looks like it provides a passive debuff on all enemies in visual range, equal to twice her Navigator's Perception bonus, which would be minus 10% on dodge and hit chance at our current state. But in theory, that could scale all the way up to 20. As for skills, notice that she is still maxed out on Persuasion, despite the fact that she only has 2 advancements in it. You know, whereas with characters like Abelard, I might assume that they had passed some threshold to once again unlock advancement for a skill. In her case, it just doesn't seem to be happening. Not a huge deal. I mean, we can use the points in commerce. I just wish there was more consistency there. And that said, level up complete. Let's get back to the action. I'm not too worried about these guys. We'll just play it by ear.
We must act. Nothing I can't do.
Crush them.
Nice. Could have been better, but we'll take it. Let's get our guys set up. Ooh, that works. Yeah, we want to have all of our combatants at easy access points. Places they can immediately engage from. Let's do this. Rebel Commander. Gotta say, that guy hit the battlefield with a lot less fanfare than I would have expected. Yeah, this isn't too bad. Interesting set piece on the battlefield, though. Looks like they're trying to pry open that armored bulkhead or blast door.
Cover me.
A little surprising they didn't have like a quick cutscene to give us better context of what's going on here.
Anything else?
But I suppose at the end of the day, they're just more bad guys to kill.
Is this foreboding?
And kill them we shall.
Was that you? Or...
Ooh, smoke. Cute. Alright, Rhett. Do it to it. Rip and tear. Nice. Twofer. Would have liked to get all three, but don't want to get greedy here. Let's keep it going. Oh, can we already trigger Rebel and Slaughter? Wow. Yeah, I guess we have killed 3 people already, haven't we? Sadly, if we use Rebel, we wouldn't have points for another burst. Yeah, that might have been slight overkill. I should have gone for a cluster. Oh, okay, so that's what that symbol means. Oh, wow, ow, okay. Might have slightly underestimated these guys. Cassia, could you please voice my concerns over here?
Emperor, give me strength.
But yeah, the little group symbols with the 3 under it, over on the left side of the screen on the initiative tracker, that symbolizes squads of troops, the ones who all move simultaneously.
I'm not accustomed.
I mean, we've seen groups of mooks move simultaneously before. I just don't remember seeing that specific symbol for them. Gentlemen?
Suits my purpose. What's your biggest mistake?
Should have leaned the cone slightly further right, but we'll take it. These poor schmucks may have gotten in a decent lick, but they are still massively outclassed.
Fields are always drowned in scarlet. God, Emperor, move through me. Feed the fire in my heart.
Might as well lob a grenade. We've got a few to spare. Not to mention it is a free action.
As the Emperor commands, I act. None can escape the Emperor's judgment.
Honestly, slightly underwhelming compared to just standard burst fire, but again, free action. Oop, and there's momentum. Guess we're pretty much done here.
I refuse. Each work is a prayer. Faith without deed, you, my Emperor.
Oh, come on. Really? They're killing me with this 1 hit point left stuff. I mean, it's not just me, right? It does feel like there's an unusual quantity of enemies that survive blistering barrages with a single hit point just so they can get in that one last turn, right? Yeah, we might as well clear this guy off our back line. Otherwise, he's going to come right up on Rhett, and Rhett's already a little dinged up.
Victory is in.
And thank goodness we did, I guess. We've got several mines just off to the left there. Can we charge and shoot? We cannot. Fair enough. Figured it was worth a shot. Since run and gun actually does let you run and then melee attack. I was curious if charge would allow you to do the opposite. Charge and then shoot.
That's not the Seneschal's job.
And now we know. Ooh. Some light dings on Adira there, but we're good. We're good.
I know what is to come. Will do. I'm not injured. I'm in
And feedback damage on Argenta, which is, by the by, why I don't commonly use that lightning move. The friendly fire potential is a bit higher than I'd like. Alright, let's wrap this up. Pretty sure Rhett's got this.
Not a problem for me. Nothing I can't do. You didn't stand a chance.
Oh, pardon me, I seem to have left you out. Have no fear, my friend.
All too
I'll make this right.
never wavered in the face of adversity.
There we go. And let's see what we've got. Hopefully some sort of clue as to what these guys are trying to accomplish. Huh. No lore objects, no reports, nothing to really give us much context on why these guys were here. The turret was placed in a great hurry, but the Technomat never got around to activating it. And might as well knock these out while we're here.
Done. I rise to the occasion.
Let's do another quick lap here, make sure we're not missing anything. Psychic Staff. Okay, yeah, that must be like the default staff, like the one that Adira's using.
Follow my lead.
And nothing else. Weird. Visually, it really does look like there should have been some indication of what they were trying to accomplish here. But, I guess we move on. The insurgents walked in a crowd right across the mine barriers, oblivious to any fear of death, it would seem. Yeah, that would be because they're not insurgents, they're cultists. Hello there. Change is coming! The edge is nigh! Fire on the nearest target!
Let those who seek knowledge find it, and let their enemies reap not in corruption, but woe.
Pascal! The man dressed in crimson should not have survived an explosion like that. However, he is alive. You hear the wheezing of the respirator covering half of his face. A trill comes from the folds of the partially smoldering crimson raiment. It is binaric speech, the sacred language of the Adeptus Mechanicus. The binaric hymn transforms into a dry voice synthesized by the Vox systems.
Identify yourselves, and state your intentions, lay people.
Of course. I am rogue traitor Retcon von Valancius. I mean you no ill. The man in crimson bows respectfully, but without haste typical for commoners. His mechadendrite tentacles rise gracefully around his hunched figure.
It is an honor to have the right to communicate with a figure of such high status.
Yes, I do envy you that. And who might you be, my friend?
I identify as Magos Pascal Hanuman of the priesthood of Mars. By the grace of the Omnissiah, I am currently assigned to the maintenance personnel of the station Altar Templum Calixis X-17.
Then what brings you to Rycad Minoris? The tech priest hesitates, glancing at his mechadendrites as if consulting them. Eventually, his Vox system responds.
I arrived to perform a mission assigned to me by my mentor, Archmagos Amarnat. It had been many cycles since we last communicated, and I experienced joy upon receiving word from him. But the rabble's unrest prevented our meeting, and I was on my way to Governor Medina to determine my mentor's current location. My escort was ordered by their commander to discontinue their movement and await to be merged with your group. Then, due to their incompetence, they let themselves get killed. It was a deplorable complication to my task.
Even if the tech priest's voice did carry any compassion for the dead, the dry words that come out of the Vox system did not convey a shred of it. To be fair, these men seem to be here for you specifically. These poor soldiers simply got in their way. His composure is remarkable for someone who just had a brush with death.
I do not possess sufficient information about the intentions of these dead blasphemers. It is possible they were simply hunting for high-ranking captives. Given that my escort is dead, I am forced to address you with a request for cooperation. I will improve the efficiency of your group, and you will provide me with a higher level of security than one would expect to have while proceeding to the governor's command post alone.
A most compelling offer indeed, but before I decide, I would know how you killed these men and destroyed this machine without laying a finger on it. What strange powers do you have? The booming binaric trill emitted by the Vox system is reminiscent of laughter, or a jubilant, triumphant prayer.
A response to the request issued cannot be granted. The Omnissiah bestowed upon me a revelation. I sensed the dying spirit of this mortally wounded machine, and reached out to it with a dirge. The machine spirit answered. This appeal is not a standard procedure, and the understanding of it that was granted to me by the Omnissiah was impermanent.
And you're not at all put off by your near-death experience? Small wrinkles gather around the tech priest's exposed eye as if he is smiling under his respirator mask.
Cessation of vital functions is an unavoidable phenomenon, and therefore an insignificant one. The doctrine of servitude renounces the fear of death.
Well then, you've answered all my questions to my satisfaction. I believe we can come to an arrangement.
Acknowledged. Forecasting successful and mutually beneficial cooperation.
Indeed. You took the words right out of my mouth.
Shall stand in my way.
I will say, it's great to see Pascal again. I've missed him since the alpha. Nothing notable as far as loot goes, but let's get a quick gander at Pascal. Omnissiah axe, standard lasgun, single frag grenade, nothing all that notable for gear. Notably no armor, so we should probably get him kitted with something. And while that axe is a formidable melee weapon, as an adept, he's just not really geared towards melee combat, so we'll probably focus him on range and dodge-based gear for the most part. Though, we'll see what kind of talents he has access to. That might be a game changer. Not proficient with medkits. Interesting. Oh, and let's pull the tech gear off of Adira and Cassia, since obviously Pascal, as our new resident tech priest, is much better suited to make use of them. He's actually not all that great at logic, though he does, of course, have a very formidable tech skill. And I guess that's it. We don't really have any better weapons to toss him just yet. Let's have a peek at his level up options. Wow, they really cranked up his weapon skill. Standard adept, no surprise there. Oh wow, he's got 4 levels in the queue. Okay. Well, you know, I'm not going to play this by ear. Let's hit the pause button real quick. I will familiarize myself with our options, and we will be right back. Hey, we're back. And it turns out that despite being a tech priest, which grants him this one special ability, Pascal's really just kind of a cut-and-dry adept. They leave his build pretty open, too, aside from a slight melee focus. But he does start with Joint Study, which allows him to temporarily share his whole study enemy ability with allies. So, after looking at our options, I was thinking we'd just kind of build on that. With that in mind, obviously we want to crank his intelligence whenever possible. That is our core attribute for most of our abilities. And for skills, just like Cassia, he comes into the party with his primary skill already capped. Which I guess isn't a huge deal. We could use the points in logic anyway. But it does kind of speak to that whole inconsistency on the skill caps. As far as talents go, one in particular caught my eye, and that is passive learning, which allows Pascal to automatically distribute clues amongst nearby enemies throughout an entire fight. We'll keep cranking intelligence. Normally I'd also like to round out ballistic skill, but there is an ability coming up that actually kind of trivializes that. Sniping Spot, which, as it says here, grants a huge boost to his ranged accuracy as long as he's undercover. And we're now capped on logic since we're doing multiple levels simultaneously. Slightly frustrating, but just the way the system works right now. Which means we have to pick out a third skill. Either Medicae or Xenoslore, neither of which we have a lead on, I think. And between those two, I feel like Xenoslore won't be coming up that much this early in the game. Whereas Medicae is a skill I feel will probably come up fairly frequently. So strictly short term, I feel like that's a better investment. For our second talent, we are immediately beelining for pattern recognition. Much like with passive learning, that one's just very hands-off. It allows for a sort of clue distribution feedback loop. Pascal distributes clues just by being near enemies, and then those enemies distribute additional clues to other nearby enemies. And then we get one last skill bump, and despite the fact that we just bumped Medicae, we can still bump it again. Another point of inconsistency in this whole thing. And with that, Pascal's level ups are complete. Let us proceed. I will say, though, I am curious to see how that pattern recognition and passive learning combo works out. I feel like one of the weakest points of the Adept class is their slow setup time for a fairly trivial payoff. So if we can automate even part of that process, we might actually get some use out of what's supposed to be the class's core mechanic. An entire procession of cargo servitors was destroyed by gunfire, without a single one of them attempting to flee. Well, yeah, they're lobotomized cyborgs.
It's about time.
Not really sure self-preservation is high on their list of priorities. Darkness is coming, and there will shine in it a spark of the dawn. The final dawn. That's nice. Okay, well, I'm just gonna leave you here to die. Good luck with that. In violation of the right of operation, the shuttle's promethium tanks have been left open. Someone interrupted the fueling sacrament. I'm gonna guess that's because it exploded and probably killed whoever was refueling it. A 9-rayed sun has been crudely scratched into one of the walls. Yeah, so, as if it weren't already obvious enough that we're dealing with cults. We now have concrete proof. The eyes of all the dead have been scorched ruthlessly.
Follow my lead.
Oh, wait. Is this the... Yeah, this is the lift we saw from the other side. So now we can access that loot cache. Sin Skin. That sounds mildly heretical. Sin Skin. Once sprayed onto the body, it protects from the environment and enhances fighting skills. 20% armor plus 5% dodge. That is not terrible. Yeah, well, that's just a straight upgrade for Pascal, so... So why not? I mean, I suppose technically he'd probably be better off with medium armor if he's intended to be a melee unit. But, I'll give that some thought. Maybe I'll swap the Sin Skin onto Cassia. Oh, here we go. Will the spirits of the machines definitely obey you? They must be very capricious. Don't fret, I've seen the tech priest do it twice. And once I even brought a sensor to him. They'll obey, of course. Alarm! Blasphemous violation of the algorithm! Hi.
None shall
And here I thought it was setting us up for a fight. My goodness. Dare we try our luck? Pascal? Hey, there we go. Of course, now that begs the question of why do we need friendly turrets? I'm certainly not seeing any looming threats. But I am seeing plenty of cover. Yep, there we go. Oh, wow. Okay, so no fanfare, just straight into it. Alright, fair enough. Okay, not a lot of cover for us to play with. So let's hang back. Is this cover? I mean, it seems like it should be. Every other side of that bin is cover, but I guess we should play it safe. We'll tuck behind the sandbags. Though, if it is cover, that would let us get our gunners up closer. Yeah, and then we can move the support staff closer as well. It's fine, we'll chance it. Maybe I'll regret that, but I imagine we'll still Well. So it turns out we really don't have much to worry about here. He said right before being riddled with a burst of laser fire. Life comes at you fast. Alright. Let's murder these guys.
I'll do it. Doubt is for the weak. Rejoice in battle. That is not the Emperor's will.
Oh, shoot. Right. Yeah. Gosh darn it. I took Argenta right up next to this sword-wielding guy without even thinking about it.
As the Emperor commands, I act.
Welp. Yeah, I kind of had that coming. Real big misstep on my part. Okay, let's do some damage control here.
Isn't this a job for the serfs? Me? If you insist, Lord Captain.
And of course we'll whittle a little. Whittle a little. I guess we'll burn our run and gun. We need a better angle.
Suits my purposes. Already done. Nothing of value has been lost.
Nice. And patch.
Isn't this a job for the serfs?
They who discern the future on the battlefield. But of course,
That still leaves Argenta in a somewhat precarious position, but we'll have Abelard over there momentarily. Not enough cover to go around. But we should be fine here. I hope. Nice. You, my friend, have just made a grave mistake.
Your biggest mistake.
That'll never get old. And momentum, so we are pretty much done.
My time is now. Suits my purposes.
Might as well revel in it.
Nothing I can't do.
Why?
All too easy. Nothing of value has been lost. I don't have time for this.
Oh, but we have no line of sight on those guys. So we are not done. Or are we not done? Abelard?
I've seen worse battles than this in my time.
One fewer target.
Right into the infinite void. And... nice.
What advice do you seek?
One wound on Rhett. No surprise there, but let's go ahead and get that patched.
Sometimes you consult the appropriate treatise on Tactica Imperialis and weigh every
fray.
stake. Sometimes, though, you just fire your biggest cannon and save the day.
And you know what? We might as well just make that stub gun part of his primary weapon set. It's not like the offhand sword's really doing anything for us. And we'll slap something a bit chunkier in his off slot for those rare occasions when he can't or shouldn't rush into melee. Oof. So much vendor trash it broke the log. But still no clue about what these guys are trying to accomplish, aside from just fomenting chaos, which I suppose is in and of itself a potential goal.
It's about
I was
time.
just hoping for slightly more nuance, I suppose. Moving on.
None shall stand in my way.
The Star Thoroughfare takes up a wide bridge hanging over the roiling river waters. The bridge is densely packed with imposing and pretentious buildings, likely meant to indulge the whims of the local elite. Interesting. So I guess that's what we're currently navigating. Doesn't really give us much in the way of practical information, but it is nice to get some context about where we are. A young man in planetary guard uniform salutes you. Your Lordship, Private Emile Regius is ready to escort you to the command center for your meeting with the governor. I regret to say the convoy sent to meet you was ambushed and took critical losses in heavy fighting against the rebels. In other words, I'm the only survivor. However, the rebel force was destroyed as well. We can move out to the command center.
The success to failure ratio of combat objective completion for this world's military speaks to its subpar efficiency. I will advise the local ruler to seek my fraternity's aid in upgrading their troops to servitor maniples.
Yikes. Harsh. Oh, and look at that. Immediate signs that this kid's not on the up and up. Tell me, how is it that you came to be the only survivor of this massacre? The Emperor protected me, the soldier replies with confidence. I didn't run, your lordship, if that's what you're thinking. I was at my commander's side until the end. I shot the last rebel from the band that attacked us. But alas, the captain succumbed to his wounds, and the others were dead by that time. The Emperor rest their souls. Yes, of course. And your thoughts on this insurgency? The ungrateful rabble rose in rebellion against the planet's lawful governor and his lordship Caligos Winterscale, our ruler by the will of the Emperor. They are all heretics deserving of a most terrible death. Order will be restored. The guilty will be punished. I see you are quite the paragon of soldierhood. It does seem odd, though, that your uniform seems ill-fitting, as if it came from someone else. Apologies, your ship. The soldier draws himself up and tries to adjust his gear. It's a new uniform, and since the guards are in a difficult situation right now, we often get issued whatever's left. And it isn't always the right size. I suppose that's an adequate explanation. Very well then. Onward, to the command center. Yes, your lordship. We have to take this avenue. It leads from the starport right to the command center. It's a short walk. Yes, I'll bet it is. A short walk along this convenient corridor between the debris. That feels very distinctive. Very deliberate.
I'll lay claim to the stars.
Something large and heavy plowed down the entire width of the street. You can only guess what could have caused such damage. The temple's tower collapsed upon the pavement and blocked the path. It would take days to clear the rubble. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. This feels like a really obvious setup, but then again, maybe that's the intent. Maybe it's like a double bluff. The temple door does not budge. It may be blocked with rubble from the other side. Right. Oh, okay, well, we've got a ship here. This shuttle must be what crashed into the building and destroyed part of the street. Okay, well that does explain part of the damage we saw. I mean, I could see someone tearing up the street to funnel enemies into a single choke point, but not planting a crashed shuttle afterwards to make it look like an accident. There are marks of recent combat everywhere, including bodies and planetary guard uniforms.
What is that?
Trap, right?
Something of interest. Done.
And a perception check.
I did it?
The bodies of soldiers and... the young man's size. The remains of my squad. Once we put down the rebellion, they'll be given the last honors they deserve as honest soldiers who fell in battle. Oh man, I wish I knew what that thing we just uncovered said. I have to say, my friend, this situation seems most suspect. Half your squad was killed before they even drew their weapons. The enemy is smart and cunning. Perhaps they were watching us? I must report this to the governor. No, I'm afraid there are just too many things here that don't add up. I don't suppose you'd like to save us both some trouble and simply admit to being a traitor here and now? For goodness sake, your lordship. I may have got a few things mixed up from lack of experience, and that's why they don't add up. Please, let's walk to the governor's command center. I must fulfill my orders. Once we get there, you can have intelligence run a check on me if you wish. I'm a loyal soldier, and that's the truth. Oh man, I don't know what to believe now. Right then, lead the way. Of course, your lordship. Please, let's move on. The sooner we get there, the better. I mean, to be fair, if it turns out he's innocent and we kill him, we can't bring him back to life. But if it turns out he is a traitor, then it's not like we can't kill him anyway. We've been mowing these guys down left and right, so I can't imagine a group, even with the advantage of an ambush, would pose much more of a threat than the previous 3 squads did. And we've got rebels. So while our friend here may in fact be on the up and up, that does imply that we're still walking into trouble. That said, we are at time, so sadly that's a mystery that'll have to wait until next time round. We'll hit the pause button for now, I will do the usual off-screen bookkeeping, and we'll pick up here next time, as we address some private concerns. See you then. Oh, and special thanks to the Raiders, the fine folks who help make these videos possible, including but not limited to Revenant, Alois, Dragon Matrix 7, Drakiith, Theory V23, EgonAlter, Emile, Exsellsior, Gottlieb, James Trimmier, Kazorm, Mark Giemza, Nathan Welch Jr., OverlordPherom, RandomPassrby, RobbyB, Rowan Church, Tomasz Piątkowski, Triphoppenskip, and Valinrook. Thanks for your support, guys. That said, if you'd also like to help support the channel, then feel free to push the buttons that do the things. Trust me, it does make a difference. Or you could even check out the PayPal, the Patreon, the Nexus GG, or the YouTube memberships. Links are in the description.